Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video we'll be completing the app we were building in the last video. In the last video we were able to lay out the basic page without any animation, but in this video we'll be adding an animation to the project. With that being said, let's jump right into the video. Now that we have our pages laid out and the page builder working, now we want to apply an animation to the text. So they slide in from the bottom, and at the end a button should pop up from the bottom. So we go into the individual page and apply animation. Now the animation we want to apply is called a slide transition. So it transition the text from an offset somewhere outside the app frame into the app frame when the app builds. So first thing we need to do is to convert this into a stateful widget. Next, we will wrap our individual text inside a slide transition widget. A slide transition widget takes some properties, the animation and the child. In this case we'll be using the animation, which is called the position. Now it takes an animation offset, we call it animation offset maybe 1, and create it above. Offset, which would be a twin, because we are moving from one position to another position. So a twin provides us with incremental value from our start value to our end value. We use a twin for an offset, and the begin offset, which will be an x and y position. The y position remains constant, but the x position, which is the x-axis, moves from, this is x0 and this is x, the width of the screen. So we want it to move from 4 and y remain constant to 0 to 0. But this provides a twin. We want to animate the twin to provide an animation. So we call animate and provide a curved animation. A curved animation will apply the animation to the twin. Now a curved animation takes a parent, which is a controller, and a curve. So a parent, which will be an animation. So we need to create an animation. Animation controller. Animation controller double. Animation controller takes, what we want here is just the vsync, which will be this particular widget, and our duration, which should be in 900 milliseconds. There's no vsync available, so we need to add a ticker provider to the widget. Single ticker provider state mixin, which will provide us with the vsync. We need to define this inside and in the state. animation controller and also define our animation offset. Now we can apply our animation controller to our animation, to our curved animation, and also apply the curve where we'll be using a curve that is in. Now running this app shows and the text is missing, and that's because we need to run the animation, which we'll do by calling animation controller dot forward. So every time the page builds, the animation runs. So you can run the project. Now when you swipe, the first text comes in. Now that we have our animation on the text, we can replicate the same thing on the heading, but with a different value. With different values, the timing and the offset should change. So we can rename this controller 1, and create another one for the heading. Copy this value, should be 2. So our offset should be like 5, and our time 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. We can change our curve to ease, and we can also call our animation controller 2 and start it. It's crashing because we set the values for the animation controller 2 inside the init state, but when you run the app, it only calls the build method, which at that point the animation controller 2 is still not is null. So we also restart the project. The issue was because we were using a single ticker provider for 2 animation controller. A single ticker provider is meant to be tied to one single controller, but in this case we have to use a ticker provider state mixing, which we can apply the vsync to more than one controllers. So we can run the project. Now we've not called the animation on the heading text, which we can do right now. Be our animation 2. Now it comes in. I would like to change the curve for the subtext to be ease as well. The animation is smooth. Now we'll add the same animation to the image as well. In that case, we'll create a new animation controller and an animation offset. Animation 3 and offset 3, which we'll define here. The duration will be 900 milliseconds, and the start offset will be around 1. So we can wrap this in a container first. and apply our slide transition. Position will be our animation of set 3, and run the project. Now the page scrolls smoothly. Next thing to do is to add the button at the end of the page view, which will be from the bottom up. So we go to the onboarding screen and add another item here inside the position. You can use a button, but I'll be using the container instead. Now I'll be padding the vertical, and I'll be padding the vertical and the horizontal axis. Showing at the top somewhere here. The decoration to the container. We need to move it to the bottom of the screen. Can do bottom 20. We want it centered. If you add the left and the right, it won't be centered. So we need to wrap this around in the center widget. Now we can apply our border radius to the button. And we can style the text. Okay, now we have the button, but we want the button to only show when we get to the end of the page. In that case, we need to know when we are at the end of the page view. To do that, we need to add a listener to the page controller, and to change a state, we'll convert our widget to a stateful widget. And our init state method, we can add a listener to our page controller. Now what we want to do is, if our page controller that page is greater than 1.0, we'll set a state of a value. Last page at first will be false, but if it is, so what is happening is we have 3 items in our page view. The first position, first page will be 0, second one will be 1, and the third one will be 2. If the page is above 1, then that means we are at the last page. So we can say is the last page equals to true. And else we set the state for last page to false. Now that we have our last page property, we can now use it to show or hide our value here. We can start by saying if it's last page here, we want it to be at bottom 20, but if not, we want to push it down to infinity. Now when you swipe and swipe, it shows up. But we want the button to scroll from the bottom in, so we'll be using an animated position. So in this case, we'll change this to animated positioned, not from rect, but from, and apply a duration. I want it to happen in 800 milliseconds. Now if you swipe here, swipe and swipe, then the button slides in, but this seems too slow. So apply the curve. We use curve.ease, that's easing. Now we can go ahead to do more things. We can hide our smooth scroll page indicator when the button pops up, but it still works. And also you can improve the code here. You can optimize the code here, but it's all your choice. So with this, we have come to the end of the video. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. I'll post more videos like this in my channel. See you in the next video.